World Soccer Radio is on the air, live on Sports Byline USA, throughout our great country, and around the world on WatchWSR.com. My name is Danny Page. On this Thursday night, the second to last evening of the month of February. And yes, boys and girls, we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty, aren't we? In Europe, in the domestic campaigns in England and Spain and France as well, and we're getting to the start of the Major League Soccer season, which is less than 10 days away. Tonight on the show, we cover it all, literally. Europe, the English Premier League, what happened today in the Europa League. Domestically, we'll talk about the United States men's national team and their big inclusion in their current camp ahead of their game against Ukraine next week. And our MLS previews really just getting underway here. We talked to Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun. He covers Toronto FC for the Toronto Sun. And I know this, Kurtis is going to have a whole lot to say on tonight's show. One of the more exciting teams heading into the season. It's hard to believe that they were near the bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference a year ago. Now, they expect to be right up near the top with Michael Bradley, who can easily be one of the best midfielders in Major League Soccer, and Jermaine Defoe starting up front, as he says goodbye this weekend to Tottenham fans. Speaking of Tottenham, what a win for Spurs today, turning around that 2-goal deficit, a 3-1 win. Tottenham on their way to the last 16. They take on Benfica, and I'll talk today about not just what they did on the day, but what Tim Sherwood has done over time, and the idea that maybe some clubs, they do too much thinking when it comes to hiring a manager. Sherwood has shown that a simple, calculated approach, but not too in-depth, can really win games. That's it. That's the show today. World Soccer Radio, my name is Danny Page, coming to you live from our studios. I want to hear from you guys today. You want to talk MLS? You want to talk Toronto FC, USMNT, or Tottenham Hotspur FC? Whichever one, give me a ring, 800-878-PLAY. That's 800-878-PLAY. And as always, I'll be reading your tweets live on air. That's at World Soccer Radio, at World Soccer Radio. My name is Danny Page. Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun on the way. We delve into Julian Green's call-up and Adebayor's masterful show for Tottenham. It was something special today, wasn't it? It's a big show. It's all on the way. By the way, big ups to our men and women in uniform listening around the world on the American Forces Network. So special to be with you on this Thursday evening as we close out the month of February. We'll close out this segment, and we'll be right back with World Soccer Radio on Sports Byline USA.
Hey, developers, are your apps breaking?
Leave me a little window there.
Oh, man, we know Nick must be gone if we're really delving into the electronic world today. It's the Yeah, Yeah, Yeahs, right? Heads Will Roll, A-Track remix. Come on. Good song. Great way to get things started here. A-Track, he's Canadian, too, by the way, and we're going to talk about Toronto FC a little bit later with Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun. They must be so excited in Toronto. You know, just the energy when that club got rolling and the way that they would sell out that building. And I understand that the sellout stopped and that interest waned a little bit because supporters are only going to support a new team for so long if they're just not winning. And this group's ready to win now. Obviously, Lewicki has gone north of the border, and he has made some massive moves. Jermaine Defoe, I think, can be a real poacher in the league, the same way Robbie Keane can. Obviously, the addition of Mike Bradley, too, who can easily be the league's greatest midfielder. I don't doubt that one bit. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on the show. Kurtis Larson, Toronto FC. Now's the time to get your tweets in, by the way. Any questions as we continue our MLS preview? That's at World Soccer Radio, at World Soccer Radio. Give me a ring. 800-878-PLAY. That's 800-878-PLAY here on Sports Byline USA. All right, they're excited in Toronto, right? They're really excited right now on the north side of London. It took all the way to the sixth team that we saw take the field in Europe from England, and now onto their second leg, Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, they came home from the Ukraine, a horrible pitch, just a difficult situation in the country. And Spurs still, nonetheless, were positive after the 1-0 loss away to Dnipro. And, again, they went 1-0 down today. Giving up the away goal meant they needed 3 goals. And they responded almost immediately. Roberto Soldado put the ball in the back of the net. Now the goal was disallowed, unfortunate for Soldado. But then Christian Eriksen and Emmanuel Adebayor put together an incredible performance for Tottenham. And I think that a lot of us were not necessarily surprised to see the way that they produced such a masterful finale. It's kind of what they would do last year during their run in the tournament. Just sort of turn things on a little bit late, and not even too late. Just turn things on at the right time. Now, that eventually would go on to bite Tottenham in the Europa League. I think it could this year. They're going to need to have their heads on straight. Kurtis Larson, by the way, will join us in a bit. They're going to need to have their heads on straight as they take on Benfica now in the final 16. And if there's an opponent like Juve, you just can't. You can't have those mental lapses and go down 2-0 with an away goal being given up at home, meaning that you have no opportunity to salvage the away goal. I think that we go back to it a lot when we see Tottenham succeed behind Adebayor. The reason why, if it came down to a straw breaking the proverbial camel's back, the reason why Andre Villas-Boas was sacked as manager of Tottenham was because at the very end of the day, he would not play Emmanuel Adebayor, and Daniel Levy insisted he should. That Soldado was obviously a little goal weary, I guess we can call it, coming to the English game from the Mestalla. And Adebayor has had success with a number of teams in the Barclays Premier League. Levy is the chairman and the individual that, sorry, not the chairman, but that sanctions transfers. Levy felt that Adebayor would be able to produce goals, and that's what he's done. What is this, 11 in 14 now since Sherwood came in? And I think Tim Sherwood is this fine example that in the English managerial game, teams tend to overthink things to an almost painful extent. And when you look at the teams toward the bottom of the Barclays Premier League table, they are teams that just have not been able to figure things out in a managerial sense. Let's have a look at the table, by the way. And saying so, that's sort of an obvious statement. But the teams with the immediate turnover that are just completely unsettled in regards to who their manager is, and now while maybe they may have found said manager, it took a little bit too late. I think one team to bring up in that scenario is Sunderland. Sunderland, let me put it this way. The teams I'm supporting, if you will, to stay up are the teams in the Barclays Premier League that have stuck to their guns. The teams that have honored their managers by giving them a shot. Paul Lambert could have easily been sacked by another club over a long period of time for Aston Villa. I'd like to see Norwich stay up because the Canaries have hung on with Chris Hughton, They have not wavered when there's been a bad run of results. I think that you don't see that from Cardiff and Fulham. And Cardiff's a whole different story in their own right. I think Sunderland, too. I think Sunderland made a big mistake by cutting Martin O'Neill, who is one of the better and more underrated managers in the English game, and going for Paulo Di Canio. And that mistake really destroyed them for the first couple months of this year. And again, they sacked him. They brought in a really bright guy in Gus Poyet. But they were overthinking their position and overthinking what they really needed to do. I just don't think that it was necessary. And I think that Tottenham, a club like Tottenham, looks at who they need as their manager, and in the same way Chelsea has, they try and, pick into the bag of brilliant managers around the planet, and sometimes that's just not necessarily what you need. Sometimes a bright Englishman or an individual that knows the game well, instead of a, star player who's just come in hot like a Di Canio, or, we've seen Gennaro Gattuso in a coaching role, something like that, even to an extent Solskjaer. Sometimes the right man for the job is someone who might have been an afterthought in the eyes of many in the English game. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Spurs. Now, I'm not sure if Spurs should hang on to Tim Sherwood, but we are seeing that there is something to be said for a simplicity in a club's decision as to who to hire and in a manager's decision as to who to play and how to go about things. My question for everyone out there, and I'd love to hear from you guys on Twitter. I'm checking the tweets right now, at World Soccer Radio. That's at World Soccer Radio. You can also give me a call, 800-878-PLAY. That's 800-878-PLAY on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. My question is, why did it take Tottenham so long to break through against the Ukrainian club? Why did it take them 145 minutes to finally break through, get on the board? Did they just decide to turn things on at that point? Did something click within Eriksen and Adebayor that made them, just hit on point, hit at the right moment? Because you can't be that disinterested. You really cannot go through a competition like this anymore disinterested. You're going to Estadio de Luz. You're taking on one of the proudest teams in Europe, certainly the class of Portugal historically, maybe not over the last decade, but historically in Benfica. And teams like Juve, Napoli, wait down the line. You can't be asleep at the wheel. Give me a break. It's just not going to work that way. I think all of us as who are neutrals or who even support teams that are maybe in the Champions League or toward the bottom of the table, I think a lot of people want to see Tottenham go on this run and win Europe. Everybody but Arsenal fans, of course. And win the Europa League. To see English clubs win in back-to-back years, I think would be fantastic, too. But they can't fall asleep at the wheel. Kind of love the story of redemption in some ways for Emmanuel Adebayor. When a great player who plays and starts just about every match of his career, which is what Adebayor has done with an exception of that second half of his last season at City, when that player is just told by one coach, you're not good enough, I'm not putting you in my team, it has to be such a hit to the ego. That's got to hurt, really. So in the manner that he has rejuvenated his career under a manager that says, all right, lads, just go out and play. That was a poor attempt at, a young American My Little Pony fan, if you will, being a gaffer. Not going to work that way. But he just lets them go out and play. Congrats to Tottenham. It's great to see them through. It's nice to see an English club that will continue playing in the Europa League. Sorry to see Swansea go out in that fashion. Players with the quality of Gonzalo Higuain in that competition will absolutely shine through in the exact same way that Emmanuel Adebayor did today as well on the other end. It's just a competition where there are a lot of really good players, but the few great players will shine through and show us what they can do. Fun watching the Europa League today. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Fox's coverage as well. Europe is now done. The European competition done for, about a dozen days now. We're done, too, for this segment. When we come back, we'll talk to Kurtis Larson of the Toronto Sun. It's Toronto FC time here on World Soccer Radio. Our MLS previews continue. We'll be right back.
You calling me or are we calling him?
All right, there we go. See, this is music, okay? Oh man, trying to reach the electronic music masses. Danny Page here in for Nick Gieber. Nick should be back tomorrow. Ian Joy from beIN Sports, our guest tomorrow. Ian will be calling the League Cup final, and he'll be our guest tomorrow night as we break down the big games on beIN Sports this weekend with Ian Joy. Good show. Great stuff next week. I'll be hosting the show all next week long as well. Pleasure to welcome in our guest. You see it right there, Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun. Kurtis, of course, covers Toronto FC for the Sun. Pleasure to have you with us, my friend.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing well. What is the buzz like in Toronto ahead of this team debuting? And I know it's not, obviously the debut of the franchise, but it feels like a rebirth in some ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit quiet right now. I mean, after you have the highs of early January when the team, when the team announces Defoe and Bradley coming in, and now it's just kind of waiting for the season to start. And unfortunately, we have to wait at least in Toronto for an extra week because TFC doesn't play during the opening weekend.
Right.
But I think everybody's just waiting for things to get going in Seattle on March 15th.
What do the ticket numbers look like at this point? I mean, the following was obviously incredible, Kurtis, when the team opened up play some years ago, and then it seems like it tapered off just a little bit, and now they're back up right at the top as far as season ticket sales.
Yeah, I mean, according to a recent release, TFC's already sold out the 17,000 season tickets that's set aside for 2014. Lewicki has told me, personally, that he's expecting every game to be a sellout this season. So, hopefully that means butts in seats and not, some of these tickets going to scalpers. But, I don't think there's any reason to think that if this team gets off to a good start and starts, winning, we won't see the kind of support that we saw, back in 2007 when the seats were, absolutely jam-packed.
Kurtis Larson, Toronto Sun, our guest. When it comes to Tim Lewicki, we obviously know him well here in L.A. He spoke in one of my collegiate classes at USC. What's it like for him now in Canada? What has your relationship been like with him? And what's his approach, and how do you think it's different to prior MLS experiences?
Well, I mean, I think he understands, where this league's going and what needs to happen for this league to get to where it wants to be, which is, a top 6 league in the world. It's not there yet, but he wants to take it there. I think he's trying to do the same thing he did in L.A. I think he wants to build this into one of the league's superpowers. I don't think it's there yet, but he wants it to become an L.A. He wants it to become, a New York Red Bulls. He wants it to become a Seattle Sounders. And I think the additions he's made, most recently with Cesar and Defoe and Bradley, I think he's on the right track now. I don't think they're there yet. I don't think they're even seen as a superpower yet in this league because, they haven't done anything. So, we'll see. I think this is a couple-year process, and we'll see where this league takes us, I guess.
I think that small, undersized, pacey forwards have an advantage in Major League Soccer in some ways. We do have, there are some pretty big central defenders, so a taller striker might not be able to win as many balls and score as many goals. To me, a player like Defoe can win the Major League Soccer Golden Boot. To me, Defoe can be arguably the leading striker in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that with, Marco Di Vaio in Montreal. Not a guy who's going to go in and bang and a guy who's going to go up and go into challenges and win 50-50s. But when he gets his chances, he's going to take it. He's a world-class striker. And I think that's what Defoe brings is, he has some pace, but he's not, the fastest guy in the world. But when he gets in the box, when he gets that little bit of room, when he creates it for himself, he's deadly from anywhere inside the penalty area. So, it's up to guys like Gilberto and De Rosario and Alvaro Rey to create those chances for him. And, hopefully, they're paying him the money. Hopefully he can slot those away.
Yeah, talk about the dynamic that you think could unfold between De Rosario, obviously, and Michael Bradley. How will those two really play off of one another for Toronto FC?
Well, Michael Bradley's looked fantastic in preseason so far. He really had a coming-out party in their most recent game against the Philadelphia Union. De Rosario, it's a bit touch and go right now because he looks like he's struggling a bit. He's laboring a bit in preseason. Last year in D.C., of course, he didn't have the year he wanted to. So right now, we don't really know what we're going to get out of De Rosario come this season. Is he going to play in the hole, beneath the forwards? Is he going to play out on the wing? I think he should be playing on the wing. I think that's where his best spot is. But I think right now, De Rosario is actually probably going to be in kind of a reserve role coming off the bench. So it's going to be up to Michael Bradley to clean up the midfield and provide that kind of service to guys like Defoe and Gilberto. What we get at De Rosario, we're not really quite clear on that yet.
Kurtis Larson, our guest from the Toronto Sun. He covers Toronto FC. One of the more clever Twitter handles I've seriously ever seen, at Kurt Larson, S-U-N. I love it. Kurtis, the question outside of the Northeast, I think, outside of Toronto in regards to Michael Bradley is, okay, how does this move affect his performance for the U.S. men's national team? What is the feeling within Toronto about how his performance with the U.S. team will be affected now that he's come back to Major League Soccer?
Well, I mean, if you look at what he was doing in Europe, was he getting the kind of day in, day out, big time minutes that he wanted? I mean, if he would have stayed in Europe, would he have been playing every weekend? Would he have been playing every Saturday, every Wednesday? I think what TFC offers, and I think what MLS offers, is a chance for him to especially in these months before the World Cup, to play 90 minutes every single week, and I think that's probably the most important thing in this move. Could he have stayed in Europe and played at a higher level? Sure, but how much would he have been playing, I think, is the question.
Mike's been a bit of a nomad, obviously Heerenveen, Roma, a couple other stops in Europe. Do you think that this is where he will be for quite some time? Is this a move back west to be in a position where he can, finally settle down a bit for a few years at least?
Well, I think if you look at the contract he signed, I think that's, every indication. The guy's inked a 6-year deal in Toronto, which will take him to be, to 33 years old. So I think, this is, a historic signing in that we've never quite seen a DP, a guy who's making $4, $5, $6 million a year, stay with a team for that long and really become the face of a franchise. And if it works out how TFC wants it to, and I think how Michael Bradley wants it to, this could be a real first in MLS where, a team actually has a storied player to look back on, a guy like a Javi Moreno in DC United. All these teams, that have guys who are with history. I think this is TFC's first real chance to get a guy like that.
Kurtis Larson, our guest from the Toronto Sun. He covers Toronto FC, of course. I think the thing, Kurtis, that has made Galaxy for so many years and now Red Bull's successful is that they bring in the stars, they bring in the DPs, but then they surround the DPs with quality players through the draft, through other acquisitions in South America especially as well. That's what Wiki wants to do, right? Who are some of the other guys we should keep an eye on this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still a department TFC's lacking in. They've brought in Justin Moreau at left back, which is, of course, a solid signing. He's an MLS All-Star, has been in the past. Jackson from FC Dallas, we still don't know what we're going to get out of him. His preseason's been a little bit rocky. And then they're expecting a big year out of guys like, Jonathan Osorio, who's a homegrown player. Donnell Henry is looking good in preseason. But I think, you're right. Teams like LA and New York have got this right over the past few years and bringing in guys to complement Keanes and Beckhams and Donovans. I don't think TFC has those pieces yet.
Not yet.
Where it's going to compete for a title. I don't think it has, the Juninhos, guys like that who are going to make a difference and not be paid DP kind of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that can end up being the harder part. Obviously, you need to be such a creative individual and shrewd negotiator to bring in the right DP. But at the same time, that's just 2 or 3 people, and you need another 12 to 15 to really be able to win some silverware. I think Kurtis Larson with us here from the Toronto Sun. Kurtis, what is the perception in Toronto of the other 2 Canadian teams in Major League Soccer?
Well, they're not well liked in Toronto.
It is a rivalry. It's a considerable back and forth rivalry with both clubs.
Yeah, I think it's a rivalry, especially with Montreal, but I think it's also one of kind of mutual respect where I think this is a unique league where you want to see other teams in this league do well. You want to see them fill up the stands and have success that way. But at the same time, you're also, it's a derby match, and when they come to town, you don't like them. TFC and Montreal had a past before TFC even came into MLS. I mean, it's a franchise, war that even stretches to hockey with the Habs and the Leafs and even the CFL. So, I think the league has done something right here by putting these 2 franchises in a place where, they can start to actually form legitimate rivalries, and they don't have to manufacture stuff like they tried to do, 5-7 years ago with TFC and Columbus in the Trillium Cup, which nobody cares about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a natural regional rivalry. Winding things down here, you're pretty pumped up. You're headed down to Seattle. What are the expectations for that game? What a way to start the Major League Soccer season with these brand new stars and obviously a team loaded with stars in Seattle.
Yeah, I know. I think there's just a bit of anxiety right now due to a couple of a couple of injury concerns. Of course, Defoe missed today's Tottenham match due to a hamstring injury. I'm told that that's not that serious by PSC's Tim Bezichenko, actually PSC's GM. And then, of course, Gilberto, their new DP, is actually kind of hobbled as well, and he's expected to miss a few weeks. I've been told they're both going to be okay for what's billed as a blockbuster in Seattle on March 15th. So, I mean, that's the only concern I'm looking forward to is, are these guys going to play, and is this going to be a real spectacle for the league? I think even NBC has kind of changed the start time so they can air this game. So, a lot of buzz. Hopefully PFC puts its best front forward, and the franchise continues to move forward in the way it wants to.
All right, we thank you so much, Kurtis Larson. You'll be there. We'll be watching. Let's catch up again soon, man.
All right, anytime, guys. Bye.
Thanks so much. Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun. That's at Kurt Larson, S-U-N. There's a lot of buzz in Toronto. They're excited about this team, and I think it's a great way for Major League Soccer to open their campaign this year, obviously, with a game where everybody wants to see Michael Bradley against Clint Dempsey. Well, what a match. What a matchup of America's greatest stars at this point in Major League Soccer, and I think we'll all be watching. Send me your tweets at World Soccer Radio. We're going to talk about the U.S. men's national team on the other side. Julian Green, the Bayern Munich youngster, is in the team for this game in Cyprus. I'm pretty pumped up. Are you? A break here on WSR, and we will return shortly. Hit me up with those tweets at World Soccer Radio or give us a call, 800-878-PLAY. That's 800-878-PLAY on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. All right, WSR rolls along here on Sports Byline USA. Nick is, he's probably digging these tunes right now. He's got the glow sticks out and everything. My name is Danny Page, a true connoisseur of electronic music, and that's what we're doing tonight, you know? I'm guessing there are a lot of fans of this show and a lot of fans of the game around the world that know a lot of these songs we're playing on the program tonight. This is World Soccer Radio on Sports Byline USA. My name is Danny Page, regular co-host with Nick Gieber. Nick is out tonight. He'll be back tomorrow. He's scheduled to be back tomorrow. And Joy is our guest tomorrow from beIN Sports. And what a lineup they have of games coming up on Sunday specifically. You know, you have Milan Juve, I believe it is. You have the Madrid Derby. You have Marseille PSG. And then you have the Capital One Cup final. What a lineup that is. And we're going to talk to the guy who's calling the games for beIN Sports. Ian Joy, one of my favorite commentators around the country, really. One of my favorite broadcasters here stateside. He's done a lot of MLS stuff, too. But we're going to focus on those European matches with Ian. Huge game in England, one in France, one in Spain, one in Italy. It doesn't get much better on Sunday. I don't know what you planned on doing on Sunday, but time to tell the wife, the girlfriend, the dog, the cat, the children. Sorry, guys. I'm feeling a little under the weather today. Basically plop in front of that couch and do absolutely nothing for an entire afternoon. I think that's what I'm going to do. Morning, afternoon, evening is probably the way it'll end up going. Good stuff talking about Toronto FC. Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun. We're going to preview Montreal and Vancouver next week, and we will talk to former MLS goalkeepers that are now on the broadcast teams for those two teams. Paul Dolan being one of them, and then the other is Greg Sutton, who is with Montreal. So it was exciting to hear how fiery they are in Toronto about that Montreal rivalry. That'd be a fun game to go to. You know, that'd be really an entertaining match to see. Toronto and Montreal, it's a local rivalry. You can tell there's certainly some distaste. He's right bringing up the rivalry between the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs as well. The Canucks are kind of out west doing their own thing. At least that's how I see it as a non-massive hockey fan. Also earlier we talked about Tottenham Hotspur and their remarkable passage through. You know, when you lose 1-0 away, the attitude is that no matter what you do in the first leg, when you lose 1-0 away in the first leg of a European tie or, you know, CONCACAF Champions Cup or any tournament, Copa Libertadores, that involves the away goals rule, anytime you lose 1-0 away and you're coming back home for the second leg, you know and you recognize the fact that you just cannot give up a goal, really, because even if you are in control, you're ahead 2-0, and then the other team gets a late goal, the now away team gets a late goal, they're going through on away goals. So for Tottenham to dig themselves that hole and to go 2-0 down without the opportunity to pull back an away goal, meaning they need at least 3, and if they were to give up another one, they need 4, which they could have 4. They could have 5 if they wanted, frankly. That's tough. That is really tough. And I don't know if psychologically they just kind of flipped a switch and we're good from there. I'm not sure. Give us a ring, 800-878-PLAY. 800-878-PLAY is the Sports Byline hotline. You want to chat with me here on tonight's WSR, or send us a tweet at World Soccer Radio. Tottenham, Toronto, USMNT. Game coming up next week, obviously. The big game not in Ukraine, the big game that has been moved now to, obviously to Cyprus. And I think in a different year, in a non-World Cup year, I'm not even sure they would have moved the game. I think they just would have canceled it. I think it's a great preparation match for the United States. I think that Suna Galati and the boys at US Soccer did a great job of scheduling this game because, I don't know if you know, but the Ukraine, they're the 18th ranked team in the FIFA rankings. They're the highest ranked team in the FIFA rankings. It's not in the tournament. So it's strong to be able to take on an opponent like that that's right on the cusp but didn't make it. They have a lot to play for. Obviously pride, and obviously now, I mean, loads of national pride with what's been going on in the Ukraine. So the game is moved. The game is now in Cyprus. I think everyone believes that's a good move. But the game had to go forward because this March FIFA date is the only date there is for matches, for friendlies, until everyone opens training camp. So you could tell with the team that was called in for Jurgen Klinsmann that he gave a lot of domestic players a real good look during the January camp and the friendly against South Korea. And now Klinsmann is giving a lot of European players their real final look and their final opportunity. And Mike Bradley and Clint Dempsey are there. They need to be with the team at this point. I don't care if it's, if we're on the precipice of the beginning of we're on the edge of the Major League Soccer season. It's about to get underway. They have to be there. These guys have to be with the national team. The World Cup is more important than MLS. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. By the way, remember to send us a tweet. I just have a couple coming in now. I'll hit in a moment at World Soccer Radio. At this stage, though, rarely do we see new players called in, someone who's never been called in before. And you see the headline below me if you're watching online, watchwsr.com. That's watchwsr.com to check in on our YouTube feed. Rarely do you see, though, a new call-up who's never been a part of the national team setup this close to a World Cup. And Julian Green, the American youngster who's played for German youth teams, is a part of the U.S. national team setup this time around. He's going to play for the team. From what I understand, he will play in the match. It is not official that he then is bound to play for the U.S. because I don't believe he's played for the German senior team. He would then have to, after playing, if he wanted to go back to Germany, he would have to officially file for a change to the German team, and that would be that. But Jurgen Klinsmann knows what he's doing here, bringing in Julian Green. A talented forward. He might be on the wing, considering he's a younger player. Reminds me a little bit, haven't seen him too much, obviously, but from what I've read, reminds me a little bit of a Raheem Sterling type. He's that age, 17, 18 years old. And it's just exciting for me, at least. I don't know how other U.S. men's national team fans feel, but before I tell you what excites me, let me tell you about what bums me out. And that's that I look at this mostly European-based group of players, 24 called into the camp by Jurgen Klinsmann. How many play in the Barclays Premier League? 2. 2 play in the Premier League. More than that play in the lower divisions in England. And I know Dempsey made the right move for him, and I know Mike Bradley made the right move for his future as well. But it's just disappointing, We don't have anybody, the U.S. doesn't have anybody on teams in the Champions League. We don't have anybody hardly left, I don't think at all anymore, in the Europa League. And that's disappointing. That's just not what that's not where I anticipated the United States men's national team would be after the run in 2002, after strong performances in 2010, after, the U20 World Cup run in 2007. That's just not where I thought we would be. And I like Julian Green being in the team because I'm not sure if he will ever really crack the Bayern Munich first 11 because they're absolutely loaded and they have the funds to go out and become more and more loaded. But Julian Green clearly belongs in this U.S. setup, and it's just reassuring. It makes you feel better when you look at the players called in, and next to one of the names it says Bayern Munich. And I don't care if he doesn't really play for Bayern Munich. He's a young player. It's just nice to know that there's some U.S. player out there somewhere that is playing for one of the top teams in Europe, even if it is mainly for the reserve team, even if he only occasionally gets on the substitute list. At least we have someone in a major spot. Tim Howard, I'm sorry. I meant there's only 2 outfield players, and Guzan as well. So that's 4 players. But, they're mainstays in the league. Timmy will probably be the lead goalkeeper at Everton until he retires, and Guzan is going to be the starter at Aston Villa or at another top European club for the next decade. 2 outfield players is what I meant to say, boys and girls. Thanks for those of you who corrected me on Twitter. I'm interested to see what Julian Green can do. I think that Aaron Johansson and the way he's come in has provided an exceptional edge and a great ability to finish and an outstanding piece of quality. And I wonder if Julian Green can bring that too, because we need all hands on deck, man. We need all hands on deck for what is coming up against Ghana, Portugal, and then Germany. And Green will see how he feels about Jurgen Klinsmann. We'll see how he feels about being a part of this U.S. setup. We'll see how Klinsmann and the guys feel about him. There are a lot of players with German ties. There are a lot that maybe grew up on the Rammstein base. A lot who could either play for the U.S. or Germany. Timmy Chandler, who's not in the team. Fabian Johnson, another example. There are a lot of these young men that have decided to go with Klinsmann and go with the United States. There are others that have decided to go the other way. Subotic obviously going to Serbia is a big loss for the U.S. because you'd have a world-class center back starting come June for America. Don't get me started on that one. So let's see what Green can do. I'm excited to see him in the team. I was excited when I saw the we knew for the most part last week it was going to happen, but it was confirmed today. Just excited to look down that list of 24 called in and see that there was a Bayern Munich player on the list. And I wish, thinking back 12 years ago, I wish we'd come a little farther. I wish there was a Bayern Munich player and a Man United player and a Real Madrid player and someone from AC Milan. America's just not there yet. I think part of it is that some of our top players have moved back domestically. So it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing to have them back at home. As we talked, again, about as far as Toronto FC a little bit earlier. Here's a tweet from Bernie Wilkinson, at Bernie_J. At World Soccer Radio, he says, great for Spurs, but 2 of their goals came after the red card. Yes, Bernie, 2 of their goals came after the red card. And Bernie, by the way, I love that Chelsea logo on your emoji, your Twitter emoji, if you will. Yeah, they came after the red card, but they looked threatening before the red card. Soldado would put the ball in the back of the net, but was less than a yard offside, less than half a yard offside. They had already put one away. I think Tottenham may have gone on to win no less, even without the red card. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Hit me up at World Soccer Radio as we are really winding down the show here on Sports Byline USA. Fun stuff from the Europa League today. I really enjoyed it. And I think, just to hit back on Bernie's comment, I think one thing I remembered today, and I think I forget this every year about the Champions League when the knockout stage starts, is that sometimes you look at the group stage of the Champions League and you look at the first round of the round of 16 ties, the first leg of the round of 16 ties, and you say, this tournament sometimes, I don't know, it just seems like too much. Let's take the best 8 teams, pick them out of a hat and see what they can do, right? But I think today reminded us of, really how much fun the second leg of the Champions League can and will be. I think that reminded us how great that tournament will be coming up in, is it 2 weeks? Yes, it is. Just about 2 weeks for those, ties that we saw already. Barcelona, Man City, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, so on and so forth, coming up in a couple weeks' time. The Europa League was great. I'm excited about some of the matches that lie ahead. Again, I want to give props to Fox for their coverage. Skipping NASCAR, thank you very much. David Mossy, our boy, works over there on the production side. Obviously, they skipped the NASCAR today. They had from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. soccer the whole way through. Both English teams live and in high definition on Fox Sports 1, and I know all of us really, really appreciate that. All right, shoot me a tweet. Remember, coming up tomorrow is Ian Joy. Any questions for Ian? At World Soccer Radio would be the Twitter handle. Any final thoughts? 800-878-PLAY. That's 800-878-PLAY. My name is Danny Page. Keeper's out today, back tomorrow. We will take a break on the show. We will be right back on Sports Byline USA, your home for sports talk here in this beautiful country of ours. Quick break. We'll be right back. There we go. He will be there to say goodbye to Tottenham fans. Had a little audio problem on our stream. Good stuff, guys. It's been a lot of fun today. Thanks so much to all of you. Adam Miller, it was good to get to your tweet. Thank you so much, man. Bernie J as well for chiming in today. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the gas. Geber will be back for one more day before his longer break. Thanks to all of you listening, our men and women in uniform on American Forces Network, and everyone on Sports Byline USA. The man, the myth, the legend coming up next. It's an honor to be able to precede him, the one and only Ron Barr, coming up next on Sports Byline USA. That's going to do it for this edition of World Soccer Radio. You can check out archive versions of the show at watchwsr.com. What a blast it's been. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night, everybody.
All right, good night, dude.
Thanks, buddy.
Later.